Great, this does show us live on our YouTube channel. It's also giving me a nice indication that we're live on our Facebook. So let me just check this and start sharing our message out. All right, well, let's go ahead and get us kicked off and started. And as folks are starting to come on with us, then they can get caught up as I'm giving this housekeeping. For those of you that are first-time attendees to our broadcast, we want to welcome you to our Chamber Lives, which are held a couple times throughout the week to give you updates, whether it's on our community, city, at the county, even state level. And then, of course, welcoming some of our newer partners and members into the Chamber, on occasion, a few of our resource broadcasts as well. If you've never done this before, then you can find all of our videos in the video section here on our Facebook page. You can even find it on our YouTube channel where we are streaming this simultaneously for at any point in time you to go back, watch, and rewind. So whether it is morning, afternoon, or evening, I want to thank you for tuning into our broadcasts with us and starting to engage. You can be sure that you're alerted in the future by hitting the like button on our page and following the page so you can get alerted when we go live or when we post content on our pages outside of just these live broadcasts. Now, we are on all things social media here, of course, on Facebook and YouTube. You can find us on Twitter at Westy Chamber, and you can find us back on Instagram at Westy Chamber Official. And I have to keep saying back because you know how those accounts keep popping up and you never know if it's a real one or not that's showing up. Ours is real. We locked out when I decided to give the age of our organization founding instead of my actual age, and it made us too young. So if you get that age notification button on your Instagram page, don't ignore that. Make sure that you put in the accurate information so you're not having to restart from scratch. But we're on all of those social media platforms for you. If you're a returning viewer to us, then I want to thank you for coming back to us. You know the drill. You should already be hitting the share button on this video so others in your network can see that we're live. And you should be typing frantically into the comments or chat section so that way I can start seeing your name pop up on our end. If you don't have anything to say, you can always engage with us by reacting to the video that's giving us a thumbs up, an emoji. Any of those reactions allow us to see who's engaged, who's tuning in, and a chance for us to kind of curb our conversation or try and address some of your questions. Now, every week on Monday, we start off with city updates, and city updates are to allow you to hear from our city councilors, our mayor pro tem, on their perspective of what's happening at City Hall, maybe some projects that they're in charge of, that they're leading, or things they want you to be aware of. This is not the end all be all. There's a lot of things that happen from one week to the next. So if there is information that you were hoping that we would touch on, course, you can comment it into the chat section. Now, I already see one of our past board chairman, Brian Head, with us. Good morning to you, Brian. Thank you for hopping on. I do like the MPT abbreviation. It reminds me of like the MVP. I don't know if that triggers that for you too, Dave, but in either case, we're very excited to have you on here with us on this broadcast. It feels like a long time since you've been on here.
I think it has been. I was trying to think about last time I was on, but always appreciate joining you, Juliet. So I do have a handful of updates that I wanted to give. So throughout, beginning of the year, we did a lot of town halls, and throughout the summer, the city does a ton of different events. I shared a link on there for the special events, which I want to talk about a couple of them. But two opportunities to talk to City Council that we're going to be at is a couple of our movies in the park. So the two that City Council picked that we're specifically going to be there beforehand to just be able to talk with the community and answer any questions you have and just be accessible were August 6th at 7 o'clock, which is at the Big Dry Creek movie in the park, which is off 128th and Zuni. And then the second one is August 26th at Legacy Ridge, which will be at 7 o'clock. So those are two things that we're going to purposefully attend as a council so that we can be accessible and be there, knowing that there are so many things people are busy with during the summer. Instead of trying to do a town hall, which then back in the fall, I'm sure you'll see more town halls again. The other thing that I wanted to point out, which again you can find on the special events link that I shared, is August 13 is International Festival at Fireman's Park on 73rd and Bradburn. It's going to be a great opportunity to participate with the community in that international festival and see a bunch of different cultures come together. And then the other thing I wanted to share with you is that we're going to be going into budget talks on August 6th. So August 6th, we have basically a budget retreat where they're going to share with us kind of the beginning phases of going into the budget cycle for this year. For the last couple of years since COVID, we've been doing a 1-year budget cycle. Prior, we were in a 2-year budget cycle. So far, it's working out well, and we're doing that again. There's still a lot of different CARES dollars and things that we're looking at, and so just doing that 1-year budget still gives us some flexibility that we don't have in a 2-year cycle. So we're continuing that practice going into this next year, and on August 6th we'll start looking at that budget cycle. A couple other quick things that I wanted to share. Also, this month on the 30th is the Beer Fest, so that's the first time coming back since COVID. You can find that on the special events page that I shared. If you want to buy tickets to that, great opportunity. Lots of local Colorado breweries, one of my favorite events. So I will certainly be there. And then lastly, just going into what's on the agenda for tonight. Tonight is a study session. And at that study session, we're going to have our lobbyist group will be there to kind of do another end of year summary for what happened at the legislature this year. We're going to be looking at the initial presentation of our annual comprehensive financial audit. And then we are going to be going over the results from the 2022 Westminster Citizen Survey. So that's a big deal to us. We want to make sure that we're getting feedback. From what I understand so far, we got pretty good participation in this year's survey. So that's a great opportunity for us to be able to see what the community is saying, see what's important, where we're doing good, where we need improvement. And so that will be the opening opportunity for us to kind of digest that as a council, look at those and see where we maybe need to reprioritize or shift priorities or double down on priorities. So we're super, super busy. All things. The other link that I did share also, and I know that the mayor shared this with you when she was with you, I think last week, that we are down to 3 finalists in the city manager search. So throughout this last part of July is going to be a sprint for us to finalize that process. If you go to that other link I shared on the comments, you'll be able to watch for when they're going to do and there's going to be an open house. That'll be an opportunity for the community to meet those 3 finalists. On that link, you can also see who those 3 finalists are. But I would watch there if you're interested in participating in the process to be able to go and hear from those 3 candidates and ask questions. And then from there, there's going to be a couple meetings the day after that same week where the candidates are going to meet with the employee base, kind of the similar thing, open house for the employee base. And then they're going to be meeting with the leadership team. And that same week, then the council will be doing in-person interviews with each of those 3 candidates and in hopes to make a decision on who the next city manager of the city will be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so a lot that's been going on since the last time you and I have chatted. It seems like you're staying consistently busy. And one of the things I think that we're seeing as a theme from all of council has been this greater access to all and opportunities to visit, hopefully in person, when the chance arises. So I will re-emphasize that there are a couple of movies in the parks that were mentioned by Mayor Pro Tem DeMott that are approaching August the 6th and 26th. If you're interested in going out there and getting a chance to visit with them, all of the details about kind of those special events that the city holds, whether it is these movies in the parks, the annual craft brew fests, any of the larger scale things that our Parks and Recreation Department really is generally in charge of will go up here on the special events link, and that's included for you in the chat section that you can go back and peruse. And then you also moved into kind of what tonight looks like, and tonight is a study session, Mayor Pro Tem, as you shared. What I've done is you were quickly reading off some of those key things was include that link for folks if they are interested in going directly to see that agenda, in case I mess something up or forget to type something in there and you're trying to go back and read it. But it looks like there's some great content that's also going to be shared, although it is a study session. These generally are pretty informative for anyone to be able to engage on, and they're still open for them to either listen in on or attend in person, correct?
Yep. They can, on that same link, you can see where they broadcast it live. So they have done some work in that side boardroom so that we can be in the boardroom and still broadcast video, which we really like. I have to be honest, up at the dais versus being, across the table from your colleagues, it's a little bit more collaborative in our boardroom. So I'm glad that staff was able to do that, because I feel like it allows us to have better conversations sitting around a table versus everybody looking out at the audience at the dais.
Sure. And I'm glad that you shared more on the progress of the city manager role. When Mayor McNally and myself were on, it was right before the announcement went out by the staff and the team at City Hall. So this is actually the first time for viewers on here to get this link directly. Now, they
Okay.
have heard the progress of how it's come to fruition, and that we've been able to narrow it down to 3 candidates and that type of thing. But for the details around who those specific folks are and their credentials, you can find that on the link here that's included in the chat. And it sounds like you all are still trying to move along with a quick timeline on this, and hopefully trying to fill this position. I don't want to give out a date, but sometime in the summer. Is that accurate still?
Yep. The goal would be in the next 2 weeks that we make a decision. There are some timelines by state statute that we have to adhere to. But also, if you think about it, now these three folks names are out in the public, and some of them already have employers. So trying to make a decision quickly, I think, is a good professional thing to do. There are a lot of different cities who are looking for city or even county managers surrounding us. So we've seen a lot of turn in Colorado. I know Fort Collins just announced their new city manager. Golden and Littleton, I think, are still in the process of going through theirs. I heard just recently the county manager for Jefferson County stepped down. Adams County just got a new city manager.
Yeah.
Broomfield has, I think, new leadership. So it's important, I think, for those folks to be able to move through the process. And I also personally think it's important for the organization for us to know, who the next leader is and move forward. Jody has worked very hard, and we appreciate what he's done as the interim city manager. But I think there's some certainty that the organization wants to know what's the future hold for us. So I think we want to be able to move through that process as quickly as possible, but still be able to have all the information we need and all the data points and input from the organization and the community that will help us make the best decision.
Absolutely. And there is anticipation around this, because I know one of the things that were also discussed was after this role is filled, hopefully we'll have someone that comes into more of a permanency role into our law enforcement as the police chief.
Yep, that's a very good point. So 2 things on that. One, because I don't know if you talked about this with the mayor before, but we recently as a city chose a new fire chief. So Derek Menard, who used to be our deputy chief and who has been running the department in Savannah, Georgia, has decided to throw his hat in the ring, and he is going to be the next fire chief. We thank Doug Hall for his many years of service. He served the city well. He's a fantastic leader. We hate to see him go, but at the same time, I hope he enjoys his retirement. He certainly has earned it. Chief Menard will be joining us here at the beginning of August, and so we look forward to his leadership. I know him on a personal level. He's a great man, and I'm excited to see him come back. And I've got to talk to some of our firefighters. There seems to be a really good excitement around him getting that position. But to the law enforcement, as you know, we have interim Chief Hobart, which again, we appreciate all his work and his leadership that he's shown as he helps run the department. But that decision to keep an interim chief was one made by Jody, and we agreed as council that we wanted the next city manager to choose that next police chief, with all things police going on in the world and in our local community. So, but that's going to be an important pick as well. So lot of important things going on in the city, and I know you pay attention. We've had a lot of department head turn too, just like every organization. I think most organizations across the country have seen some level of churn as we see things change in the economy.
Yeah, and I think with change it comes opportunity. It's not always a bad thing. In our situation or environment, we're not unique to it, as you've shared. There are so many communities that are facing changes. It's just the timing of it and where you can capitalize. And I have heard some great things on our new fire chief, and I included that press release for folks as a quick link for those of you that are interested in learning more about him. And Dave, while I'm just kind of like going through some of these, it looks like your sensors don't believe you're alive. So if
Yeah,
you
no, I don't know if you noticed, but I like to try to be green in environment and money too. And
okay.
my screens are behind my sensor, so if I don't move around enough, my lights turn off on me.
That is too funny. Well, we also have Emilio. Thank you for tuning in, Emilio, on here with us, and our mayor, Mayor McNally. Good morning to you, and appreciate you hopping onto the broadcast with us today. Mayor Pro Tem DeMott was giving us some quick updates around what is going on or what plans to go on at our study session this evening. He's also given us some more steps or movements around the city manager position that's looking to be filled. And I do love how frequent we're doing these, because we're getting kind of the next steps as you guys are taking it on and not having to wait such a long period to figure out what's been going on or what the situation is. And some great events it looks like the city has had and is having into the future. So I don't know if you went out to the vintage baseball or any of that stuff, Dave, or if you wanted to recap any of that before I start.
I know I heard we had great participation. The mayor does a lot of hard work on that. I unfortunately got struck with COVID, and I was in quarantine during the baseball game and over the 4th of July, which was a bummer, but all healthy and out of that now, which I'm glad to have that behind me. But from what I understand, it was a great event. And if you haven't ever participated, they do it yearly, and it's I can't remember what year. The mayor would know. It's 1800 something rules. And so they have women's suffrage protests, and they have the umpire carries a firearm. It's a lot of fun to go to. We thank the Parks and Rec people who helped participate in making sure that was a success, specifically Rich Newman and his team and Leah Krumholtz. I know that they always help out a lot. That same day, they also did historic bus tours. So a lot going on in that area, but from what I understand, all very successful, well attended, good events. However, the Westminster team did lose in the last inning, which is a bummer, but very, very much fun event for you to participate in. This was the first time that I've missed it since I've been involved. So it's a lot of fun to participate in that.
Yeah, well, you had a valid excuse this time around. I think everyone.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wanted me out and about.
No, not so much. But our mayor did share that it was over 250 people that were out there, and you're accurate. It was around the 1870 rules that are
close. I was going to say 1860s, but
right. Hey, it's 1800s. It's close. It's Monday. So you have also supported our law enforcement tremendously, Dave. And I appreciate you for doing that. It's always nice for them to see that continual support for them, especially during these times. They also have some programs of their own. One that's coming up is Cuisine with the Cops. And that's a community conversation. Have you been able to glean kind of what that looks like a little bit more?
I have not got to participate yet, but I will be there this Wednesday. So I'm going to go support them this Wednesday evening at their event. So that's another good opportunity, and they do them throughout. I don't remember exactly where the one is this week. I know that they post them on their Facebook page. So that's two things. One, following the Westminster PD, both on their Twitter and their Facebook, gives you a good opportunity. They do a lot of updates on there, sometimes even around public safety, but they also give you opportunities to know like the different emergency tools and stuff that you can follow, but they also share their events. So, community-based event, just so people can get out and be able to talk to our officers and talk to them. I think they typically have food trucks out there. So another good opportunity to be out in the community. I did want to mention, and this isn't a city event, but it's mine. Each different elected has their different way that they do community outreach. This Tuesday, I once a month, and I have since before I was elected, do an event at Cocopelli, and it's kind of a town hall, sit down, have a beer kind of event. And so at 6:30 this Tuesday at Cocopelli's is my Policy and Pilsner event. And again, we do that once a month, and I do that this year. We're doing the third Tuesday of every month at 6:30, and we'll do that up until the month of November when holidays hit and people are busy. So, and then we'll start it again in January. I sometimes have other electeds drop by, but that's a good opportunity to both talk to me as well as other just neighbors and hear what people are concerned about, or just patron a good business that's here locally in Colorado.
Yeah, thank you for that plug. I know I've attended those in the past, and that is a very casual and informal environment. Great opportunity to support local and to have that one-on-one time. And to kind of circle back, I was able to pull some of the details for the Westminster Police Department's event. That'll be over at Big Tri Creek Park, and exactly what our Mayor Pro Tem was sharing. They will have food trucks and other activities at the event. Just another way to increase communication between them and you all as residents of our community. So, Dave, you highlighted that the budget process is about to really start unfolding for City Council. What does that look like? Is it more of you guys are now getting briefed on what our current budget is, or is it allocating the funds that you are predicting to come in? Can you give us a little bit more of a
Sure. So it's kind of all of that, meaning each department is going to have different needs. And so typically what happens is the departments, they look and say, where were we at last year? Where do we want to be? What are our needs? Then our budget team will compare that to what we forecast our actual tax revenue to be. The same thing happens inside the utility. They'll bring those kind of initial things back and say, here's what we think staffing needs to look like, or any capital improvement projects that we need to do going into next year. And they'll start kind of laying out what they think the budget's going to look like. That there's an opportunity for council to give input and say, yeah, we like that, we don't like that, we want to reprioritize some dollars. Likewise, there's opportunity for the public to do that. So you can watch agendas. They'll start doing public hearings in the back half of the year where citizens can come and say, I think you should spend money on, a park in this part of town. There's a lot of different things. I've seen specifically a lot of times where people will ask for a stoplight to be put in the budget in a particular part of town. But we will get any of those that are submitted and be able to decide as a council if we want to fit those into the budget, if there's dollars for it. So it's a really holistic look where each department has input. Council really gets to look line by line and decide, are we properly prioritizing? Do we agree with what's proposed? And then at some point we'll have to vote on that and approve, or, change, then approve the budget.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you so much for giving me more of a deeper dive into that. I know we get some questions around that. We're paying attention to those, and it helps for people to know kind of what that process actually looks like. It's not an overnight process by any means, and there are different things that factor into that. So if any of you are tuned in and have questions for us, now is the time for you to be typing that into the chat section so I can get that addressed by our Mayor Pro Tem. If you don't have any questions, you can also give us any comments. We always appreciate any of those additional feedbacks or loops that you want to share with our elected officials. I see Commissioner Tracy Kraft-Tharp tuning in with us as well. And so I'll give her a little shout out. She's got her quarterly town hall event this Saturday, the 23rd, and that is still virtual. So if you are interested in trying to attend that, you can do so from the comfort of your home. I think you've either knocked it out of the park or you've peeved so many people that they don't want to be on it.
It could be a little bit of both.
It could be a little bit of both.
I'm a love-hate kind of person.
Oh
whether you love me or not.
No way. You are a great person to get to know and talk with. And so what I'll do in the next few minutes is actually turn this into more of a personal conversation with you, so people can get to see the Dave that I know outside of just kind of this hat. So you also are married, you've got kiddos, and how is everyone doing right now? It's the summertime, so
doing good. Wife is busy working. My kids are busy. I think mostly teenagers sleep during the summer and play video games all night, but kids are either working or hanging out. So we got to we are big frequenters of Waterworld. We always buy season passes, or at least have for probably about the last 12 years. So Vanessa and I and one of our little ones went to Waterworld yesterday, which was a great day for it because it was super hot outside.
Oh my goodness, yes.
So just hanging out, enjoying the summer. Looking forward to the Beer Fest, Vanessa and I next week. Always a fun event. I know I've seen you there before. I can't encourage people enough to buy tickets if you like beer, because lots of different craft brew fests. I probably enjoy beer more than I should because I try to do low carb, and beer and low carb don't match up. The summer is hard for my lifestyle of low carb, but just so enjoying the summer. It's been nice. How about you so far?
Yeah. So a couple of things on that. One, yes, I encourage everyone to check out the Beer Fest, especially if you're not a beer drinker. So you can go and be a designated driver. You can go and even find ciders. I know we've had folks that are in our community that enjoy that and have pushed a lot of the local breweries to start having those. And there are more of them that are showing up. So it's more than just beer that you can go out and support. And to the extent that Mayor Pro Tem DeMott was just sharing, even supporting local businesses like Highland Hills and their water park is another great opportunity to spend with your family and your loved ones. But summer has been, it's been quiet. It's been nice because we're ramping up for a busier fall. We had predicted that the summer and fall would be our time to do things and not necessarily the spring. So it's about to get a little bit nuts for us, but in a good way. And then outside of, those programs and events that are occupying us, of course, we're paying attention to some of the works that you all are doing and trying to move the needle on a couple of different projects that we have underway. But now I share that hardship with you of being carb free. It is in everything. Listen, I had no idea how much carbs are just
carbs and sugar. It's in
yeah.
Like sauces was the biggest thing for me that I realized, like ketchup and so many of the sauces will just mess your diet all up and you won't even realize it. So
exactly, you are spot on. The sauces will get you, and you never use the serving size. I mean, who does that, right? Like you're just squeezing it out, and they're talking about a dime size, so you could practically fill up on your intake just on those alone. But you have been a great motivation to anyone that's interested in doing that lifestyle. Go check out what Dave's been doing, because that's been a couple of years at least, that journey of his, and it's tough. It's not an easy thing to do. Jolene, I see you on here with us. Thank you for tuning in. And for all of you that are starting to tune in now, because we seem to have like an uptick just a couple of minutes ago, etc., these videos are going to be available for you to rewind, rewatch, and replay. So when we are no longer live, you can still watch what we discussed, and you can hop on and chime in on whatever item it was that you may have been interested in. Even if you did have a thought or a question, because you type it in, it'll alert us. We'll be able to see what that notification is and get that answered for you. Of course, it makes our life easier when you give us the hashtag replay. Then we can see that you've tuned in and can pull that comment and notice that it wasn't overlooked during the broadcast that we were on. And these broadcasts are weekly. So on Mondays, we have these updates for you. Sometimes it will be with our mayor, sometimes with our mayor pro tem, and then other times it'll be with our other counselors. And we just rotate that through. So if you don't see a counselor on here, it's not for the lack of an invitation from our end. I want to emphasize that to you all. We give them all the opportunity. And thanks to our mayor for really suggesting doing this time around. But we give them all an opportunity to be at that mouthpiece and sharing the thoughts that they would like. And if their schedule and they're able to make that work, then they do. And that's why you may see some of them on here and you may not. So I want to give you all that caveat. If you've not already done so, hit the share button on this video so others in your network can see that we're live, can hear all of this awesome news that our Mayor Pro Tem has shared with us, and can really get familiar with what's going on and maybe come back on here at another point and start engaging with us quickly. Was there anything that I haven't asked you or additional thoughts that you wanted to share away, Mayor Pro Tem?
Nope, just appreciate the opportunity, and I appreciate people paying attention. A lot of good stuff going on, and stay tuned. So we have some exciting choices ahead of us.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for being on here with us. And thank you to everyone that's tuned in. We will be back on here on Wednesday, welcoming one of our newer partners to the Chamber. Please do tune in and support another local business, hear about their journey, and share that out to those that are in your own community. So, with that, I'll give you the rest of your morning, and we'll be back on here again on Wednesday. Thank you.